I woke up bright and early just for the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. The Medicare podcast with a bad attitude. One of his hands washes the other, Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another thrill-packed, exciting episode of Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. Just in case my Canadian nephew, Drew McMillan, Father of the Year, Canadian department, didn't tell you, I am Doug Jones, your Medicare expert, and I am here to help you feel confident about your impending encounter with Medicare. Now, your encounter might have already happened, in which case I would admonish you to perhaps give up your seat for another person who may want to listen in to this podcast to learn about Medicare. And then I think, well, you know something? It's not that big a deal because the whole thing is Medicare knowledge is just too voluminous to convey in half-hour dribs and drabs like this podcast will give you. So what I suggest that you do is to go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com and purchase a copy of my book, Medicare for the Lazy Man 2024. Once you have that in your hot little hands, you're going to have all the Medicare knowledge that you will ever need or ever want, to tell you the truth. It's probably going to be more knowledge than you'll ever want. But after that short read, you're going to be confident that Medicare is the way to go for you, that you will know either how to enroll successfully in Medicare or that you will know how to contact me so that I can help you and I can help you get the ancillary coverages that you need to round out your protection under Medicare. And you'll have a slam bang protection against big medical bills for as long as you want that protection, I would say for the rest of your life. So purchase Medicare for the Lazy Man 2024. Enjoy the read, and then when it's time to think about Medicare seriously, contact me, and I will help you through that threshold out into the land of Medicare milk and honey. Speaking of milk and honey, well, speaking of milk, Randy Carson is sitting on the other side of the screen waiting to jump into this conversation. Hello, Randy.
Good morning, Mr. Jones. How the heck are you?
I think I'm doing just fine. How do you think I'm doing?
You look bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You're wearing your Route 66 T-shirt. You're
Yes,
doing
sir.
well. You're doing well.
I appreciate that. I'm wondering, I think I might have accidentally turned the power off and the computer is running on battery. I'm going to lean over and hit the switch on my power strip.
Is that like the pilot on that one movie where he starts drooping down?
Yeah,
Airplane.
the movie is Airplane. The activity is questionable at best.
Yes, I remember that.
That was the autopilot, and
I remember that.
He was brought back to his duties in a happy
and I
state.
think he had a very big smile on his face, if I remember correctly.
I think he was smoking a cigarette.
That's right. So I got a question.
Ask
so
away.
when you graduated from high school, did you walk across the stage and gravitate toward your diploma and get it?
I don't remember. I think so, but I don't remember.
Well, let's say you did.
Okay, let's say I did, and let's say I remember it clearly.
Yes, crystal clear, I can tell. So anyway, my question is back, all those kind of stories you hear, we always heard that because the school board didn't want to embarrass anybody, probably not the kid, but the family. If the kid didn't make it, he would still get to walk across the stage, but and get a diploma, but it wouldn't be signed by the school board.
So it'd be like fake. He'd open it up or unroll it, and it would say,
welcome back next year.
Yeah.
So it reminded me, when we had that quiz in our last episode, I remember that quiz, 12 questions.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure when I walked across the stage to get my diploma, you didn't sign it.
Well, I didn't sign it, but I will tell you that my recollection is that you had 100% on that quiz, so it should have been signed by somebody in authority.
Well, let's go with that.
All right. Well, when I graduated from high school, it seems like about 2 weeks before graduation, our class shrunk considerably from around 250 to around 200. Because I think every day I heard an announcement saying that now we've snagged a few other that either have overdue library fines, outstanding detentions, homework that had to be made, like their senior paper had to be rewritten or something. I think there were a whole lot of people who teetered on the edge of not graduating, and I never heard a final count. I don't know how many of those people managed to salvage their status as graduates of St. Charles High School.
Well, as you know, I was born and raised on a ranch in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like you to guess how many kids were in my class out in the boondocks of Nebraska.
Well, I will tell you that St. Charles used to be like that, and I can go to 2 different locations that were one-room schoolhouses originally. I think the township or the county had the same architect design one-room schoolhouses, and they put them in several different places made out of brown brick. One person has bought their one-room schoolhouse and turned it into a mansion. And but if the one-room schoolhouse was indicative of a suburban town, then you living out in the boonies, probably far away from a school building, I'm going to say under 50 for a graduating class in your high school.
Well, I'm not going to agree or deny. That's very close. But the other thing I was going to mention is, where I grew up.
Don't ask me a question if you don't. You're not going to tell me the goddamn answer.
The answer you're looking for is 38.
Okay, so I was pretty close there.
You were actually very close. But the other thing I wanted to mention, for those of you who grew up in the middle of, like a city, I was 5.5 to 6 miles away from my nearest neighbor.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of Nebraska. And
right.
I got to tell you, there's some days now I wish it was the same way where I'm living now, especially when I am attempting to stay away from what? The Medicare Advantage zombies.
Yep, I understand. What you're going to need is some armed guards. I think that's the only way to protect yourself. And open enrollment is coming. That annual election period, AEP, is coming in the middle of October, and that's when you're really going to need the extra help, the extra security.
I know. Well, bottom line is, I have some good memories about living out there, and I have a lot of good memories. But one of them is not 10 inches worth of snow. I'll tell you that. Oh,
geez. Well, I got to tell you also about schools in small towns. My father grew up in Idabel, Oklahoma. Now, he wasn't born in Idabel. I always remembered that he was born in Broken Bow, because Broken Bow had a hospital. And then just recently, we're going through boxes and boxes of family stuff. And just recently, I saw a notation one of my sisters made that our father was born in Valiant, Oklahoma. And whatever the reason, he wasn't born in Idabel, because Idabel did not have a hospital at the time. So he came home to Idabel after, with his mother after a week or so in a hospital back in 1921. But the deal is that when he had a high school reunion, and I was probably 35 or so when this happened, everybody that ever graduated from Idabel High School went to Idabel for the reunion. I'm not saying everybody that ever graduated participated, but I am saying that it was open to all graduating classes. And I thought that must have been one tiny ass school to have everybody. And I realized later, not too long ago, really, I realized it wasn't so much that it was a small school. It was that half of them were dead, and the other half were probably locked up in a loony bin.
Well, it's interesting you say that, Doug, because and it's been a long time, trust me, that I went to a high school reunion, but the last one I went to, we were at the reunion, and everybody, every 5 years you get to stand up, and we were down to the point where everybody got to stand up. So, and the oldest graduate, the one from the furthest away, sure. So there was two graduates of our school that had graduated 60 freaking years before that.
Oh boy, I'm coming up on a 60th high school graduation, and I frankly don't feel a lot different than I did at my 55th high school graduation ceremony.
I know exactly what you mean. Well, you know something?
Yeah.
I'm going to encourage us to move on because guess what? We need to get some income, some revenue, all that kind of good stuff going. So I'm going to let you do it to it.
Well, I'm glad to have that opportunity, and I'm glad to be doing it with you, sir. But I will have to call an audible. It's my fault. It's not your fault. You chose ahead of time, and I think it was a wonderful idea to choose your article from the Medicare Advantage Minute ahead of time so that we're all ready and we didn't mess around, oh, which one shall I have? Which one? But the one you chose is one that has not been edited by the curator. It's 6 pages of Medicare Advantage vitriol and hatred, and I'm afraid it would take up the whole episode. So can you pick
Once
another?
upon a time in a land far, far. Okay, give me. Let's go. Oh, let's go with 13. Why not?
All righty. Number 13. And it is, because remember, Medicare Advantage Minute doesn't really last all that long. So here it is. Data show clear economic divide between Medicare Advantage and regular Medicare fee-for-service enrollees. So there's a different breed of cat that buys a Medicare Advantage plan than the cat who buys a Medicare supplement plan. So the article says Medicare Advantage enrollees have less money and face greater challenges in overcoming the social determinants of health. Oh boy, is that a lefty idea. The social determinants of health are those things that are not the person's fault. They might be food insecurity. I'm trying to think of the buzzwords that the lefties use, facing homelessness, and on and on and on. We're probably going to hear some of that stuff tonight during the big debate. But in any event, the article goes on to say Medicare Advantage payers need to start paying attention to the health and economic status of potential new members when they turn 64. Waiting until they're 65 means missing out on the data that really matters, according to a white paper by the Harvard Medical School and a Maryland-based healthcare analytics company. Research on the Medicare population usually focuses on those who have already made their choice or who have switched from one form of Medicare coverage to another. Researchers want to find differences in the health status, socioeconomic characteristics, and demographics that might determine what type of Medicare plan somebody chooses. Medicare Advantage offers less access to psychiatrists. I knew those people were nuts than regular medical plans do, according to a.
Well, there's a reason for that, Doug.
Yeah, what's that reason?
They don't want the Medicare Advantage people to know how dumb they really are.
You'd have to be nuts to make that choice.
Well, yeah, you go to the psychologist and they goes, "Are you nuts? What'd you sign up for this for?"
There you go. You give me the bill on your way out here. So the average Medicare Advantage enrollee has a net worth that is only 74% of the average Medicare enrollee, average fee-for-service enrollee, according to the white paper. Medicare Advantage health plans should tailor their marketing towards the types of people who we've identified as being likeliest to enroll. At the same time, they can tailor their product to new types of members who historically have not been as likely to enroll in Medicare Advantage. So specifically, maybe higher income individuals or individuals living in relatively more rural areas, individuals who are enrolled in PPOs or other types of non-HMO health plans. Medicare Advantage enroll. So what they're saying here is Medicare Advantage plans can extend their reach and firm up their grasp on the American retiree by marketing more heavily in areas where they're not marketing now, like in wealthier enclaves. Medicare Advantage enrollees are more likely to live in areas in which more individuals have only a high school education or less. In addition, Medicare Advantage enrollees are less likely to own a home or a car and more likely not to speak English. So I can see how they get fooled into buying a Medicare Advantage plan if they can't speak English. Medicare Advantage and fee for service, that's Medicare, regular Medicare. The two types of enrollees have a similar prevalence of the top chronic conditions among Medicare beneficiaries, including high blood pressure and hyperlipidemia, whatever the heck that is. Fee for service, regular Medicare enrollees are more likely to have certain conditions, including cancer, joint problems, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, and osteoporosis, and heart problems. On the other hand, Medicare Advantage enrollees are more likely to have diabetes. So, what they're saying in that article is that there's a definite correlation between the type of medical plan that you purchase voluntarily and the type of medical conditions or economic conditions that you live in, or your educational background. And frankly, the only thing I can say is that the trend in growth in Medicare Advantage plans, which has been huge over the last few years, I believe is also coming from people being forced into Medicare Advantage by their company who have their companies, huge companies have promised retiree coverage for life. And then they found that they can't afford to buy health insurance for life. So what do? They foist them off on the federal government by making them sign up for Medicare Advantage plan that the government pays the insurance company for. So that's why a lot of people wind up in Medicare Advantage plans, as well as being dumb and uneducated and uninformed.
Well, the other thing I wanted to point out there, Medicare Advantage plans still require you to be in a network of doctors.
Yes.
And I don't know whether you know this, Doug, because it's been a while since you lived out in the sticks. But most of the doctors in the network of Medicare Advantage out where I was born and raised are vets.
Well, there you go. But, the principles are the same. It's still, you still got a bag with a hole in each end. It's like a big leather donut, as one physiology instructor said. We live in a big leather bag that's like a donut.
Yeah, well, it's still true. But the other thing I was going to say, that is not a slam against vets. They're probably better doctors than some of them I've seen.
Well, sure. At least they probably have a well-developed bedside manner. Many of the doctors.
Yeah. If the cow doesn't stand still, you kick them. And then sometimes they will stand still.
What kind of a Medicare Advantage or what kind of a doctor signs up voluntarily for an HMO Medicare Advantage plan? Probably a recent medical school graduate.
Well, the guy or gal that wants to just get going, I don't blame him. I would want to start making a little income off of on the other side of the ledger too. But bottom line is, you folks that are signing up for this stuff, you're not going to get like John Hopkins, sort of people on this thing.
You're not going to be finding the cream de la cream or the creme de la creme of medical school practitioners or medical school graduates.
Yeah, so they may be there someday, but not now.
Absolutely. Well, I feel guilty that Randy selected a wonderful article, but I had not cut it down to a bite-sized portion, so I'm going to have to do that next time. In the meantime, I think we should take a break and think about what our sponsors might be likely to say about us while we're not listening. All righty, let's move along rapidly to some other content that was curated for today's podcast. And this is a list. We have so much fun with lists and questions and so forth and so on. This is a list of 5 key facts about Medicare supplement plans. Now, by way of review, Medicare supplement is the health insurance that you purchase when you have Medicare and you need to make sure that your insurance, your health insurance coverage is going to be effective and the kind of protection that you're looking for. Medicare supplement is the way to go. You've got a predictable cost and you've got a predictable result if in fact you get sick and or hurt and need the Medicare coverage. So Medicare supplement is also called Medigap. It fills the gaps in Medicare because there are some gaps in Medicare that need to be filled. So Medicare supplement is fairly reasonably priced insurance that you buy to supplement Medicare. 5 key facts about Medicare supplements. So, number one, all Medicare supplement plan benefits are standardized by the government. Sometimes people don't understand that. Those new to thinking about Medicare don't really understand how the federal government gets involved in a health insurance product that has historically been overseen and administered by the states. Well, that's what I don't understand either. The federal government really shouldn't have anything to do with state insurance products, but somehow they muscled their way in and they set up standards by which the Medicare program has to operate. One was to standardize the plans, the Medicare supplement plans that are available in every state in the union. And then, of course, there are three exceptions: Minnesota, Massachusetts, and Minnesota, Massachusetts, and Wisconsin are the three states that don't have matching plans. Every other state has Medicare supplement plans that are identical. Plan G is Plan G in any state in the union, except for those three states I named. So, reading on from the article, if there's one Medicare supplement fact that you need to know above everything else, this is it. There are many different Medicare supplement plan types, and those types are organized by letters. The most popular current plan type is Plan G. No matter which Illinois county you live in or which insurance company you buy from, a Plan G is a Plan G is a Plan G. That applies to not just Illinois, but all over the country, except for those three states I mentioned. A Plan G is a Plan G is a Plan G in every part of the country. Plan G benefits are standardized by the government, so your benefits are exactly the same regardless of which company you get your Plan G from. This information is power, according to the article. You have the power to price shop from all the available Medicare supplement carriers on the market. Sure, there are other factors like brand name and potential rate increase histories, but in general, you should get your Medicare supplement plan from the company with the most competitive premium. Now, this is from an insurance agency, so they have to get their blurbs in promoting themselves. Our licensed agents have quote engines they utilize to find you the most competitive rate every time. See, so I'm going to disagree with that statement, the prior statement about buying the most competitive plan. It's important that the company you're buying from isn't using it as a loss leader. There are some unscrupulous companies that will have a very, very low premium for a 65-year-old, even a 66-year-old, and then start jacking those rates up. And they'll know that you don't really want to shop your insurance. You don't want to call an agent and say, I need to move. That agent's going to say, well, how healthy are you? In many cases, you're going to have to fill out a health questionnaire showing evidence of good health before you're going to be allowed to go to a different company or to a different plan. So it's better to get a reputable company that does not have a reputation for rate increases that are out of line with their competition. Number two, you'll pay the same premium whether you use an agent or not. Medicare supplement rates are the same whether you buy directly from the insurance company or whether you go through an agent. You should always go through an agent, as an agent will price shop the entire market and find you the company offering the lowest premium. An insurance company will never send you to their competitor who has a lower premium. So if you were to call an insurance company, first of all, you're going to be talking to an employee of theirs that has an insurance license. Secondly, they're never going to tell you that their coverage isn't the best. Go call our competing company across the street. They're only going to tout their own products. An agent also provides extra service that you won't get from an insurance company. Forget about 800 numbers and robotic voice systems. Your agent is going to work with you one-on-one, and your agent is always going to be there to answer your questions and offer help when tricky situations arise. Many of the agents at this agency, and I'm not going to tell you their name, give out their cell phone numbers to clients. That's how dedicated we are to service. If you're worried about slick sales pitches from an agent, you also won't get that here at our agency. Most of our agents utilize a needs assessment to determine where you have coverage gaps. Okay, there's never any pressure or obligation to buy insurance from us. Boy, they never get tired of tooting their own horn, do they? Number three, Medicare supplement coverage is extremely comprehensive, and that is true. Clients often don't realize just how comprehensive Medicare supplement insurance is until they have a major health crisis. Plan G is currently the most popular Medicare supplement plan. Under this plan, you could get a cancer diagnosis and face hospital stays, radiation, and chemotherapy. Your total cost for Medicare for medical care under a Medicare supplement plan G would be less than $250 for the year. Your medical bills could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, and your bill would be just $240 for your Part B deductible in this year. And Randy is a testimony to that. He has a Plan N, and so his bills when he had COVID and did some serious hospital time, his overall bills, I think, were in the neighborhood of $250,000, and he had to write a check for $33, as I recall. Is that right, Randy? He's nodding his head yes. He's been trying to multitask over there, and I think
it was $39.
Oh,
but
okay.
You were close.
Yeah, you had 38 graduating students in your class, and I said 50. So
it was the extra $5 that you forgot to mention. Was the stamps I had to put on the envelope to send the statements back.
Oh boy! Well, I'm sure at least you deducted that. I hope.
I did. Yes, I did.
Good for you. So anyway, the protection that you get under a Plan G is fantastic, but you will also pay for that premium. I mean, it's not cheap. So I always suggest looking at high deductible Plan G. That's it's identical benefits after you pay a portion of the cost. And it's, you could almost say it's an entirely different Medicare supplement plan. Number 4, Medicare supplements do not come with provider networks. If you've ever had an employer group health plan, you've probably used to finding doctors within a provider network. And if you've ever gotten care outside of your network, you may also be familiar with the fact that it costs a lot more money. With Medicare supplements, you don't have to worry about provider networks. Your only concern is making sure that your provider is Medicare. All providers except Medicare. Current estimates are between 93 and 97%. Plus, if a doctor does not accept Medicare, which is very rare, they're required to inform you so you won't get any ugly surprises. You even have to sign some paperwork acknowledging that your provider does not accept Medicare. And item number 5, Medicare supplement premiums go up over time. One of the unpleasant facts about Medicare supplements is that premiums go up over time. You can expect anywhere from 0 to 2 rate increases per year, although many carriers will deliver your rate increase on your birthday. I haven't seen that, really. None of the carriers I work with do that. It's a cruel birthday present, we know. The good news is, as long as you can health qualify, yeah, I didn't write this. As long as you can qualify by showing evidence of good health, you're allowed to switch Medicare supplement carriers. Over time, new companies will come out with better rates, and you can make a switch to save some cash. But in reality, ladies and gentlemen, you can't keep switching forever. And who wants to go through all of that rigmarole when if you pick the company that's most dedicated to rate stability from the get-go, then you are unlikely to be in where every other company is than the company you purchased. So here's the conclusion in this article. Medicare supplement coverage is popular for a reason. From the standardized plan benefits to no networks and freedom of choice, it's a plan that most individuals can get behind. So that wraps it up for that. And I think it wraps it up for our day today. Randy, what do you say?
I think it does too, Doug. As always, there's a few things I like to do before the 75-cent clock runs out. And, that doesn't last all that long, does it?
I know it. It's Randy, inflation is beating the heck out of us.
Oh, I know. Well, you know something? I've got a few things that I need to go through. So grab your pencil, folks. And if you want to sharpen it up, I'll wait for 12 nanoseconds. Okay, let's go. Number 1, dbj@mlmmailbag.com. That's where you can reach out to Douglas Jones, and he will be waiting. He waits at that mailbag. Literally, he waits there almost 24/7, but he needs to get a little bit of sleep once in a while. DBJ at MLMmailbag.com. Don't forget, Doug is licensed nationwide to help you with your Medicare supplement planning. Check us out at the website, MedicareForTheLazyMan.com. And in your wanderings through the wilds of the internet, we would appreciate it if you could drop a couple reviews on the content that Doug produces. Last, but certainly not least, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. You could have been a couple different places at least, and you weren't. You were with us, enjoying just a few minutes of Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast with Doug Jones. But in case you weren't watching your watch, and I bet you weren't, you have just spent about 32 and a half minutes with Doug Jones, the anti-insurance insurance guy, originally from Oklahoma. No more. He's out in the low grounds of Illinois in Pugsleyville. Right, Doug?
Well, that's right for now. And I am happy to be here because it's summertime, Pugsley notwithstanding. So thank you very much for joining us. We certainly enjoy having your presence here, and I hope you enjoy our presence. We're looking forward to doing this all again for our next episode. Bye-bye.